"Daddy, why is that woman sleeping on the street? The single father's lesson his daughter will." The city never truly slept. Even at night, light flowed through the air like water. Tall buildings reached into the clouds, covered in moving signs and glowing symbols written in many alien languages. Small flying vehicles drifted between towers, quiet and smooth, like metal birds following invisible paths. On the streets below, the noise was softer but constant. Footsteps, distant engines, soft announcements from public screens. Ethan walked along the pavement, holding his daughter's small hand. His name badge from work was still clipped to his jacket. The letters were faded from years of use. He was tired. His shoulders felt heavy and his legs ached after a long shift repairing transit drones. But he kept his pace steady, careful not to rush. His daughter, Lily, walked beside him, swinging her free arm happily. Lily was 7 years old. She had wide eyes that missed nothing and a mind full of questions. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her shoes lit up softly with each step. She liked the lights. Ethan had bought them second-hand, but she treated them like a treasure. They were almost home when Lily slowed down. "Daddy?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart," Ethan replied, already preparing himself. He knew that tone. A question was coming, and Lily's questions were never small. She pointed toward the side of the street, where the bright lights dimmed and the ground dipped into a shallow alcove between two buildings. "Why is that woman sleeping on the street?" Ethan followed her finger. His breath caught for a moment. A woman lay curled on the cold ground, partially hidden by shadow. Her clothes were thin and torn in places, made from a material Ethan did not recognize. Her skin was pale with faint markings along her temples, glowing just slightly. She was not human. He could tell that much right away. In this city, that was not unusual. Humans lived alongside many species, but seeing one sleeping on the street was rare. Most aliens had powerful governments or strong community networks. Homelessness was considered a human problem. Ethan tightened his grip on Lily's hand without meaning to. She's resting," he said carefully. Lily frowned. "But the ground looks cold." "It is cold," Ethan admitted. "Why doesn't she have a home?" Lily asked. That was the harder question. Ethan looked around. People passed by without slowing. A tall insect-like alien clicked past, eyes forward. Two humans laughed as they stepped over a shallow puddle, not even glancing toward the alcove. A floating advertisement shifted position to block the shadows from view, as if the city itself preferred not to see. "There are rules here," Ethan said slowly. "If you don't have work papers or a registered address, it can be hard to get help." Lily looked back at the woman. "Did she do something bad?" Ethan swallowed. "No, not always." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "If she didn't do anything bad, why is no one helping her?" Ethan did not answer right away. He didn't have a good answer. He had asked himself the same question many times since Lily was born, since her mother had died, since the world had become smaller and heavier. "Sometimes," he said, choosing his words carefully, "people are scared, or they think someone else will help." Lily nodded slowly, like she was trying to understand something much bigger than herself. "Can we help her?" she asked. Ethan's first thought was no. Helping strangers was risky. Helping aliens was even more risky. There were laws, permits, and security checks. There were consequences for getting involved in things that did not concern you. Ethan had learned to keep his head down. He had a daughter to raise. He could not afford trouble, but Lily was still looking at him, not demanding, just hoping. Ethan looked again at the woman. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Her hands were thin, fingers long and trembling slightly even in sleep. She looked exhausted in a way that went beyond hunger. "We can't wake her," Ethan said, "but maybe we can leave something." Lily's face lit up. "Really?" Ethan nodded. "Really, but quietly." He reached into his bag and pulled out a small food pack still sealed. He also took out a folded thermal sheet, the kind workers used during emergencies. He hesitated, then took off his own scarf. It was old but warm. They walked closer. Ethan moved slowly, watching for any sign of danger. The woman did not stir. Up close, he could see faint scars along her arms, precise and clean, like the marks of advanced medical tools rather than violence. Whatever her story was, it was not simple. He placed the food pack near her hand, then carefully spread the thermal sheet over her shoulders. Lily stepped forward and gently placed the scarf near the woman's neck. "Good night," Lily whispered. The woman's eyes fluttered just for a second. They were a deep silver color, reflecting the city lights. She looked at Lily, confusion and something else, fear maybe, passing across her face. Then her eyes closed again. Ethan felt a strange chill run through him. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's go home." They walked away, Lily glancing back once more before turning the corner. That night, Ethan could not sleep. The apartment was small but clean. Lily slept in the next room, her soft breathing steady and calm. Ethan sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the city through the window. The lights outside never dimmed, but somehow the room felt darker than usual. He kept seeing the woman's eyes. He told himself he had done enough. He had been kind. That should be enough. Still, a quiet worry settled in his chest. Across the city, the woman woke fully. Warmth surrounded her, unexpected and confusing. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then she felt the fabric around her shoulders and the weight of the thermal sheet. Her hand brushed against the sealed food pack, her breath caught. She sat up slowly, senses sharp, scanning her surroundings. No guards, no drones, no enforcement lights. Just the empty street and distant noise of the city. She picked up the scarf. Human-made, old, warm. Her mind raced. She had been careful. She had hidden well. Yet someone had seen her and chosen not to report her. That should not have been possible. She stood, moving with controlled precision despite her weakness. Her body ached from days without proper rest, but her training held. She looked down the street, then in the direction the human and child had gone. A child. That detail stayed with her. She ate quickly, efficiently, then wrapped the scarf around her neck. For the first time in weeks, she felt something close to safety. Not because of technology or strategy, but because someone had chosen compassion over caution. She melted into the shadows and followed the path they had taken, careful to remain unseen. Back in the apartment, Ethan finally lay down, exhaustion pulling him under. His dreams were restless. He dreamed of streets stretching forever, of questions he could not answer, of silver eyes watching from the dark. Just before morning, the building's security system registered movement. A figure stood across the street from Ethan's apartment, partially hidden by a maintenance pillar. The woman watched the building quietly, memorizing its layout, its entry points, its weak spots. She was being hunted, she knew that. Powerful forces wanted her silenced or controlled. She had lost everything because she refused to help plan something terrible. But tonight, something had changed. One small act, one simple question. She had not decided yet what she would do. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. The human father and his child were no longer just strangers in a vast city. They were the reason she was still alive. And whatever came next would begin with them. Morning came quietly, filtered through layers of glass and metal. The city's light shifted from deep blue to soft white, signaling the start of another cycle. Ethan woke before the alarm, his mind already heavy. For a moment, he forgot why. Then the memory returned, silver eyes, torn clothes, Lily's question. He sat up slowly and rubbed his face. From the other room, Lily's voice floated out. "Daddy, are we late?" "No, sweetheart," he called back. "Plenty of time." He stood and walked to the window. The street below looked normal. Workers moved in lines toward transit platforms. Delivery drones floated past. Nothing seemed out of place. The alcove where the woman had slept was empty. Ethan felt a mix of relief and unease. "She's gone," he whispered to himself. Lily joined him a few minutes later, already dressed in her school uniform. She climbed onto a chair and pressed her face to the glass. "Daddy," she said, "is the woman okay?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I think so, she's not there anymore." Lily smiled. "That's good, maybe she found a home." "Maybe," Ethan said, though he was not sure. They ate breakfast and left the apartment. The building's security gate scanned them as usual. No alerts. No warnings. That should have calmed him, but it didn't. As they walked toward Lily's learning center, a large public screen flickered to life above the street. Bright symbols appeared, followed by an official announcement tone. People slowed down. Some stopped. Ethan stopped too. "Attention all citizens," a calm alien voice said. "This is a Level 3 public notice. A high-risk off-world individual has escaped lawful containment. The individual is considered extremely intelligent and potentially dangerous. If sighted, do not approach. Report immediately." An image appeared. Ethan's stomach dropped. It was her, the markings on her temples, the silver eyes, even the angle of her face was the same. The image showed her clean and composed, wearing a formal uniform instead of torn clothing, but there was no doubt. Lily looked up at him. "Daddy, that's the lady." Ethan felt his heart pound. He gently placed his hands on Lily's shoulders. "Don't say anything," he whispered. "Okay, but please," he said softly. The screen continued. "The individual is wanted for crimes against interstellar security, including refusal to comply with strategic directives. A reward will be issued for verified information." People began talking. Some pointed. Others shook their heads. "She doesn't look bad," Lily said quietly. Ethan swallowed. "Sometimes pictures don't tell the whole story." They continued walking, but Ethan's mind raced. He replayed every detail from the night before. Had she followed them? Had anyone seen him help her? Had he put Lily in danger? After dropping Lily off, Ethan went straight to work, but his hands shook as he repaired drones. He kept checking the security feeds on his wrist display. Nothing unusual. Still, he couldn't relax. Across the city, the woman watched another screen from the shadows of an abandoned transit platform. She listened to the announcement without expression. She had expected it. The wording was familiar. Extremely intelligent. Potentially dangerous. Those were the phrases used when someone like her stopped obeying. Her name was not spoken, it never was. Names gave power. She had not used hers in a long time. She watched the image fade and felt no fear, only focus. They were widening the search. That meant time was short. She shifted her attention to a different display, tapping into local surveillance with ease. The city's systems were complex but predictable, designed by committees, maintained by routines. Humans were different. She replayed the recorded footage from the street camera near the alcove. The father, the child, the way he hesitated before helping, the way the child spoke without fear. That memory disrupted her thoughts in a way nothing else had. She should leave the city. That was the logical choice. She had contacts beyond this system, places where she could hide, but logic had led her into a cage before. Logic had told her to obey, to assist, to plan. She had refused, and now logic told her something else. She waited until night. Ethan picked Lily up from school under a sky filled with slow-moving traffic lights. Lily was quieter than usual. "Daddy," she said as they walked, "is that woman really dangerous?" Ethan sighed. "I don't know. But they said she didn't listen," Lily said. "That's not always bad." Ethan looked at her, surprised. "Why do you think that?" Lily shrugged. "You tell me not to listen when someone tells me to do something mean." Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. "You're right," he said. "Not listening can be brave." That evening, Ethan double-checked the locks. He didn't tell Lily why. He made dinner, helped with homework, and tried to act normal. But every sound from outside made him tense. At precisely 2200 hours, the building's internal alert chimed softly. Someone was at the door. Ethan froze. Lily looked up from her book. "Daddy, stay here," he said quietly. "Don't open the door for anyone." He moved slowly, his heart pounding, and looked through the door's visual panel. She stood there, calm and still. The woman from the street, cleaned as best she could. The scarf Lily had given her wrapped carefully around her neck. Ethan's first instinct was panic. His second was anger at the city, at the announcement, at himself. He opened the door only a few centimeters. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "I know," she replied. Her voice was low, controlled, with a strange accent that bent the words slightly. "I will leave if you ask." Lily peeked around the corner. "You're awake," she said. The woman's eyes softened. "Yes." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened the door wider. "Come in," he said. The woman stepped inside, scanning the space out of habit. It was small, orderly, lived in, pictures on the wall. A pair of worn shoes near the door, a place of routine. "I did not come to harm you," she said. "I came to explain." Ethan crossed his arms. "They're looking for you." "Yes. They say you're dangerous." She met his gaze. "I am dangerous to those who wish to harm others." Silence filled the room. Lily broke it. "Why were you sleeping outside?" The woman looked at her. "Because I chose not to hurt people and I had nowhere else to go." Lily nodded like that made perfect sense. Ethan rubbed his forehead. "Why follow us?" "Because you helped me when you did not have to," the woman said. "That is rare." Ethan laughed softly without humor. "Rare enough to risk everything." "Yes," she said simply. At that moment Ethan understood something. This woman was not running blindly. She was choosing just like he had. A distant siren echoed through the city. The woman turned her head slightly. "They are close." Ethan looked at Lily, then back at the woman. "You can't stay," he said, "but I won't turn you in." The woman inclined her head. "That is more than enough." She moved toward the door, then paused. "Your child asked a question last night," she said. "It reminded me of something my people forgot." She opened the door and disappeared into the night, just as quietly as she had arrived. Ethan locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Lily hugged him. "Daddy," she said, "I think she's good." Ethan held her close. "So do I," he replied. Outside, the woman vanished into the city, carrying with her a human scarf, a child's kindness, and a growing belief that the strongest force she had ever seen did not come from power, but from choice. The city tightened its grip the next day. Security drones multiplied in the air, their lights scanning streets, windows, and alleys. Checkpoints appeared near transit hubs. Public screens repeated the same warning again and again. People walked faster, spoke less, and avoided eye contact. Fear spread quietly like fog. Ethan felt it the moment he stepped outside with Lily. He held her hand firmly as they walked toward her school. His eyes kept moving up, down, left, right. Every drone sounded louder than before. Every uniformed officer made his stomach twist. Lily noticed. "Daddy," she said softly, "are you scared?" Ethan looked down at her. He wanted to lie. He didn't. "A little," he said. "But that's okay." Lily nodded. "You told me being brave doesn't mean not being scared." "That's right," Ethan said, surprised. "It means doing the right thing anyway." They reached the learning center. Ethan watched until Lily was safely inside, then turned back toward the street. He did not go straight to work. Instead, he walked. He didn't know what he was looking for, or maybe he did. Across the city, the woman moved like a shadow with purpose. She had changed her appearance slightly. A hooded jacket, a different posture, small adjustments that meant everything. Her mind worked constantly, mapping patterns, predicting movements, reading systems the way others read books. She knew the city was closing in. She also knew she could escape, but she didn't. She stayed close to Ethan's neighborhood, watching from a distance. Not out of weakness, out of curiosity, out of something unfamiliar that pressed against her thoughts when she remembered the child's voice. She had once commanded fleets, planned outcomes that affected millions. She had been praised for efficiency, for removing emotion from decision-making. Now, emotion followed her everywhere. By midday, Ethan was at work, but his focus was broken. He made a mistake repairing a drone and had to redo the entire system. His supervisor noticed but said nothing. Everyone was distracted. During his break, Ethan checked the city feeds. The search had expanded. A new detail caught his attention. Civilian collaborators may face penalties. Ethan's hands went cold. That night Lily was quiet at dinner. "Daddy," she asked suddenly, "did we do something wrong?" Ethan looked at her sharply. "Why would you think that?" "Because everyone looks angry on the screens," she said, "and you look worried." Ethan set down his utensils. "No," he said firmly, "we didn't do anything wrong. But they say she's bad." "They say a lot of things," Ethan replied. "Sometimes rules are wrong." Lily thought about that. "Then why do people follow them?" Ethan took a deep breath. "Because it's easier." Later, after Lily was asleep, Ethan sat alone in the dark. The city lights painted moving shapes across the walls. He felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him. A soft sound came from the door, not a knock, a signal. Ethan stood slowly. His heart pounded, but he did not hesitate this time. He opened the door. She stood there again. This time there was no calm in her eyes, only urgency. "They are changing tactics," she said quietly. "They will begin searching residences." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "Then you have to leave now." "I know," she said, "but before I go I need to ask something." Ethan frowned. "What?" "Why did you help me?" she asked. The question surprised him. "Because my daughter asked me to," he said honestly. The woman studied his face. "That is not enough." Ethan shook his head. "It was enough for me." She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "I was created to predict behavior. Your choice still does not fit my models." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe your models are missing something." She looked past him into the apartment where Lily slept. "My people removed family bonds long ago," she said. "They believed attachment weakened judgment." "And what do you think?" Ethan asked. "I think," she said slowly, "that attachment teaches judgment." A distant hum grew louder, drones. The woman straightened. "I will draw them away." "No," Ethan said suddenly. She paused. "What?" "You won't," he said. "Running keeps you alone and they control the chase." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Then what do you suggest?" Ethan didn't know why the words came, but they did. "Stay," he said. "Not forever, just here for now." Silence stretched between them. "That will put your child at risk," she said. Ethan swallowed. "She already is, in a world that teaches her to ignore people on the street." The woman searched his face, for fear, for regret. She found none. "Very well," she said, "but we must be careful." They worked together without another word. The woman used her knowledge to disrupt local surveillance. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, just small delays. Blind spots, routine errors that looked like system fatigue. Ethan followed her instructions exactly, even when he didn't understand them. For the first time since Lily was born, Ethan felt like he was doing something bigger than surviving. Over the next 2 days, the city searched and found nothing. Whispers began. How was one fugitive avoiding capture? How were systems failing without sabotage alerts? The authorities grew frustrated. Inside the small apartment, something else grew: trust. The woman watched Ethan make breakfast, help Lily with homework, listen to her stories like they mattered more than the world outside. She observed without judgment, absorbing every detail. Lily, for her part, accepted the woman without fear. "What's your name?" Lily asked one afternoon. The woman hesitated. "I no longer use it." "Can I give you one?" Lily asked. Ethan held his breath. The woman considered it. "Yes," Lily smiled. "Then I'll call you Star, because your eyes look like the sky at night." The woman blinked. "Star," she repeated softly. Something in her chest shifted. That night alarms sounded across the city, not near the apartment, far away. The woman looked at the data and understood immediately. "They are preparing something," she said. "Not just for me. For your kind." Ethan felt a chill. "What kind of something?" She met his eyes. "A war," she said, "planned by minds that believe compassion is a weakness." Ethan looked toward Lily's room. "Then they're wrong," he said. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes," she said, "they are." Outside, the city lights burned brighter than ever, unaware that a single father, a curious child, and a hunted alien had begun to change the future. Not with weapons, but with the simple, dangerous choice to care. The city woke to confusion. Public screens flickered between normal advertisements and emergency notices. Transit lines slowed, then stopped. Security drones hovered in place, waiting for new instructions that did not come. People gathered in small groups, whispering, pointing at the sky, checking their personal devices again and again. Something was wrong and everyone could feel it. Inside the small apartment, Ethan stood near the window, watching the chaos spread. Lily sat at the table, drawing quietly. Star stood beside Ethan, her eyes focused, her posture alert. "They are arguing," Star said. "Their command structure is fracturing." Ethan glanced at her. "Because of you?" "Because of truth," Star replied. "I released information they buried." Ethan's heart skipped. "What kind of information?" Star turned to face him. "Plans, projections, outcomes, evidence of what would happen if their strategy moved forward." Ethan felt cold. "You showed people war plans." "Yes," Star said simply, "and who would suffer?" She did not say it with pride, she said it like a fact. Lily looked up from her drawing. "Is that why everyone looks scared?" Star knelt beside her. "Some are scared," she said gently. "Some are thinking for the first time." Lily nodded and went back to coloring, satisfied. Ethan stared at Star. "You could be arrested for that." "I already was," Star said. "Once." Outside, a new sound rose, voices, not angry, loud, curious, confused, the sound of people talking instead of obeying. Ethan's wrist display buzzed. A citywide alert appeared. "Emergency assembly requested. All governing representatives report immediately." Ethan looked up. "They're calling a meeting." "Yes," Star said. "They cannot hide anymore." She turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" Ethan asked. "To them," Star replied. Ethan's stomach dropped. "Alone?" Star met his eyes. "I am not alone anymore." Before Ethan could respond, a sharp knock hit the door. Ethan froze. Star raised a hand. "Wait." She moved with careful speed, checking external signals. Her expression shifted. "It is not enforcement," she said. "It is media." Ethan frowned. "Media?" Another knock, more urgent. Ethan opened the door slightly. A human woman stood there, holding a recording device. Behind her hovered a small drone with a glowing lens. "Sir," the woman said quickly, "we received an anonymous data drop. It led us here. We just want to ask a few questions." Ethan's mind raced. "About what?" "About the woman they call dangerous," the reporter said. "And why a single father helped her when the entire city walked past." Ethan looked back at Star. She nodded once. Ethan opened the door. Within minutes, the small apartment was filled with quiet activity. The reporter sat at the table. The drone hovered near the ceiling. Lily watched with open curiosity. Star stood in the center of the room. "I will speak," Star said, "but not as a weapon, as a witness." The reporter swallowed. "We're live." Star looked directly into the lens. "I was designed to calculate outcomes," she began. "I was ordered to plan conflict because it was efficient. I refused because it was wrong." Images appeared on the reporter's screen, documents, simulations, numbers, cities burning, populations displaced, species erased. Gasps echoed through the broadcast. "I was punished for refusing," Star continued. "I was labeled dangerous, not because I harmed anyone, but because I would not obey." The reporter found her voice. "Why come here? Why hide among humans?" Star glanced at Ethan and Lily. "Because a child asked why I was sleeping on the street," Star said, "and a father chose to answer with kindness." The camera shifted to Ethan. Ethan's throat felt dry. "I didn't do anything special," he said quietly. "I just didn't want my daughter to learn how to ignore people." The broadcast spread fast. Across the city, people stopped what they were doing. In offices, in homes, in transit stations. They watched. Alien species who had never seen humans as more than variables leaned closer to their screens. Star continued. "My people believed compassion weakened strategy. Humans showed me it strengthens it." A pause. "I ask you," Star said, "what kind of future do you want planned for you?" The feed cut abruptly. Silence filled the apartment. Ethan exhaled slowly. That just went everywhere. Yes, Star said. It had to. Sirens wailed in the distance. But they were different now, disorganized, uncertain. Lily tugged on Star's sleeve. Are you going to get in trouble? Star knelt again. Perhaps, she said honestly. But sometimes trouble is the price of doing what is right. Lily smiled. Daddy says that too. A loud announcement echoed through the city, no longer calm. All enforcement units stand down. Repeat, stand down. Ethan's eyes widened. Moments later his display buzzed again, a direct summons. Star, Ethan said, they want you. Yes, Star replied, publicly. She straightened her jacket and reached for the scarf around her neck. Lily's scarf. Ethan stepped forward. I'm coming with you. Star turned sharply. No, Ethan met her gaze. I won't let them turn this into another quiet arrest. Star studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. They walked into the street together. Crowds had gathered. Humans, aliens, species that rarely stood side by side now filled the avenues. They watched as Star stepped forward, unrestrained, unguarded. A delegation waited near a raised platform, tall figures. Cold eyes, symbols of authority. Star climbed the steps. Ethan and Lily stood below. A representative spoke. You have violated interstellar law. Star answered calmly. I revealed interstellar truth. You disrupted stability, another said. Stability built on silence is not peace, Star replied. Murmurs spread through the crowd. You were designed to serve, a third voice said. Star's eyes hardened. I was designed to think. She gestured to the crowd. So were they. Ethan felt Lily squeeze his hand. The representatives shifted. This was not going as planned. Star continued. You taught us to fear humans because they act on emotion, but emotion made them stop. Emotion made them ask questions. She looked down at Lily. This child saw a stranger and asked why she was alone, Star said. Your systems would never allow that question. The crowd erupted, not in anger but agreement. A human voice shouted, let her speak. An alien voice followed, we want answers. The representatives exchanged uneasy glances. One stepped forward. If war is not planned, then what is your alternative? Star paused. Then she said, listening. Silence fell. For the first time, Star continued, allow those affected to decide, not calculations. Not projections, people. Ethan felt something swell in his chest. The city held its breath. Finally, the lead representative raised a hand. The plans are suspended, they announced, pending full review. A shockwave of sound rolled through the crowd. Cheers, cries, relief. Ethan closed his eyes. Star stepped down from the platform. She did not look triumphant. She looked tired. Ethan knelt and hugged Lily tightly. You see, Lily whispered. Helping is loud. Ethan smiled through tears. Yes, it is. Star stood beside them, looking at the city now lit not just by machines, but by faces turned toward one another. For the first time since she had been created, she did not feel like an outlier. She felt like part of something human had started, something messy, emotional, brave. And the stars themselves seemed a little closer. The city felt different after that day. It was not quiet. It was not suddenly peaceful. But something unseen had shifted, like a great machine changing direction after years of moving the same way. People walked slower. They looked at each other more. Public screens no longer repeated warnings every hour. Instead, discussions appeared, open forums, shared statements, questions asked by citizens instead of commands given by authorities. Ethan noticed it first in small ways. A neighbor he had never spoken to before nodded at him in the hallway. A shopkeeper gave Lily an extra fruit without charging. Two different species argued loudly at a transit stop, not about fear, but about ideas. The city was thinking. Star was taken into protective custody, not a cell. A secure residence near the central district, watched but not restrained. The word dangerous no longer followed her name. Now the screens called her a key witness and a strategic dissenter. Ethan did not like any of those titles. Lily liked only one. "She's our friend," Lily said simply. Ethan agreed. They were allowed to visit Star once a week. The first time they walked into the clean, bright building, Ethan felt nervous. He did not trust institutions. He never had. Star was waiting for them. She stood near the window looking out at the city. When she turned and saw Lily, something rare crossed her face, a smile that reached her eyes. "You came," Star said. "Of course," Lily replied, running forward and hugging her. "You promised to teach me about the stars." Star gently returned the hug. "I did." They sat together near the window. Star pointed to the sky, explaining constellations from her world and others, how different species found meaning in the same patterns of light. Lily listened with full attention, asking questions that made Star pause and think. Ethan watched quietly. "You changed everything," Ethan said later, when Lily was distracted with a drawing pad. Star shook her head. "No, I revealed what was already broken." "They stopped the war," Ethan said. "For now," Star replied honestly. "But stopping something is easier than changing it." Ethan nodded. "Humans aren't great at perfect endings." Star looked at him. "That may be your strength." Weeks passed. Investigations expanded. Other strategists came forward. Data long buried was released. Some leaders resigned. Others were removed. The word efficiency lost its shine. The word impact gained weight. Star testified openly, calmly, without anger. She did not accuse, she explained. She showed what numbers alone never could: faces, lives, futures that could have been erased. The galaxy listened. Not everyone agreed. Some protested. Some warned that compassion would make systems weak. Star answered them all the same way. "Strength without care is destruction delayed," she said. The phrase spread. Ethan returned to his normal life, if it could be called normal. He went to work. He fixed drones. He made dinner. He helped Lily with school projects that now included essays about ethics and empathy. One evening, Lily came home excited. "Daddy," she said, "we learned about the street question today." Ethan blinked. "The what?" "The street question," Lily repeated proudly. "Our teacher said it started a big change. It's when you ask why someone is being ignored." Ethan sat down heavily. "That's quite a question," he said. Lily smiled. "I asked it first." "Yes," Ethan said softly, "you did." Months later, Star was cleared of all charges. The announcement came quietly, without celebration. But across the city, people noticed. Some cheered. Some cried. Some simply stood still, letting the meaning settle. Star was offered many roles: advisor, ambassador, architect of ethical oversight. She accepted one position only: observer. "I will not command," she said. "I will remind." Her residence changed from guarded to open. She was free to walk the city. The first place she went was not a council hall or media center. It was the street, the same alcove where she had once slept. It had changed too. A small shelter now stood there, built by volunteers. Warm lights glowed inside. A sign read in many languages, "If you are tired, you are welcome." Star stood there for a long time. Ethan and Lily joined her. "I think this was your doing," Ethan said. Star shook her head. "No." This was many people answering a question they could no longer ignore. Lily looked up at Star. "Are you going to leave the city?" "Someday," Star said. "There is much to do elsewhere." Lily frowned. "But you'll come back." Star knelt in front of her. "Yes, promise." Star placed a hand over her chest. "I promise." Years passed. Lily grew taller. Ethan's hair grew more gray. The city continued to change, slowly, imperfectly, but forward. Statues rose, not of warriors or rulers, but of moments. One showed a child pointing at a figure on the street. Another showed a hand offering a blanket. A third showed many different beings standing together, listening. People often stopped there, not to take pictures, to think. Star visited when she could. Sometimes she brought news from distant systems, places where the story had spread, where similar questions were now being asked. One evening, as the city lights softened into night, Ethan, Lily and Star sat on a bench near the old alcove. "Do you regret it?" Star asked Ethan suddenly. That night, Ethan considered the question. "No," he said. "I was scared, but regret needs certainty. I never felt that." Star nodded. "My kind would have called that illogical." "And now?" Ethan asked. Star looked at Lily, laughing with another child nearby. "Now," she said, "I call it human." The stars above the city burned quietly, watching a world that had learned, slowly, painfully, beautifully, that the smallest acts could echo across galaxies. And it all began with a simple question. Why is that woman sleeping on the street?